Down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I can edit out the first little bit, Linda, right? So hi everyone, you're very welcome to our presentation here, and let's talk about mental health and the 5 ways to well-being in retirement. And I'm particularly delighted my former colleague from Mental Health Ireland, Linda Thorpe, is joining us in this session as well. And you're all very welcome. And we'll learn a little bit more about where I fit into Mental Health Ireland shortly. I am Development Officer for the CHO area, which you'll be familiar with as counties Laois, Offaly, Westmeath, Longford, Meath and Louth. And I link in quite a lot with your services, especially in mental health. So I'd like to welcome Linda. And Linda is going to introduce herself now. So Linda, you're very welcome. And thank you so much for making your time available to us today.
Thanks, Finola, and I'm delighted to be here to be part of this programme, working with you again, and to thank Mental Health Ireland for the opportunity. As Finola said, I worked in mental health services for 34 and a half years, and I was also, for my last 10 years, working with as a development officer in CHO 5 with Mental Health Ireland. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you later on about retirement and the ups and downs of it. So.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Linda. And I know you have a lot of words of wisdom to share with us from experience. So Mental Health Ireland, national voluntary organisation, established in 1966 in response to a need to promote awareness of mental health and indeed support for people with mental illness problems. And of course, we've come a long way since those mid-60s. And our focus nowadays, reflecting current trends and understanding around mental health, we're into promoting positive mental health, well-being and recovery. And this is all set out in our strategy, which is available to download from our website. We also are very focused on co-production and working with lots of partners in relation to our mental health, both statutory as with the HSE and very many other organisations. But one of the ones we worked with recently was Sea Change in the production of a new reality, living with COVID. So it's about supporting people in work situations and indeed at home, and a lot of invaluable information in there. And then one of our key messages around mental health and hitting into the kind of the unbeknown, as we now know about COVID, that we realized it was important that people stood back and realized about connecting, about the importance of communicating and reassuring and reassurance. And like whether we've COVID or not, these are three very important concepts in our life: connecting, communicating, and you know, when we're not feeling at ease with things and when we're feeling concerned, you know, we often need that reassurance. And you know, and sometimes we have to go and connect and communicate that with people. So I'd encourage you to look at our website and to pick up and download all our material. We have special interest themes in there as well. And if you want any hard copy of our materials, drop an email to info@mentalhealthireland.ie with your address, your postal address. So we kind of feel it's important to take out 30 seconds before we start. And because we're going to be talking about retirement, your plans, how it might impact on how you're feeling and coping. So the idea of 30 seconds is just kind of ground yourself. And the story that goes with it is this young fox called Rua. He was found abandoned, orphaned by a farmer nearby where I live. And he brought her home, fed her on cat pellets. And then he thought, where will I go to next? And he brought her up to our house. And of course, children, as in inverted commas, adult children, just latched onto her. And she was petted and treated and minded like you might mind a little pup. And she grew up beside our Jack Russells and sheepdogs and what you have typically on a farm. And she got a bit strong in herself. She used to be in the kitchen and she got a bit strong, so she had to go outdoors. And with that, like, she had quite a safe area, albeit confined, to run around. But last summer, the girls decided to literally just let her come and go as she pleased, or maybe just go and not come back. So they were so delighted for the whole of last summer and right through to the autumn. And right now, she just comes back to be fed. And for me, kind of Rua, and I know foxes kind of became symbolic, town foxes, and because nature and everything has become a kind of a symbolic awareness for people of their health and their well-being during COVID, time to think and time to recognize nature, that Rua was abandoned. She was found, I should say, and responded to the care and kindness. And sometimes in life, we can find ourselves feeling a bit abandoned. And if somebody reaches out to us, we can accept it. And sometimes we might say, not for me. But the important thing is when you do accept help and support, it goes around in circles, and to be kind of always mindful of that. So that's Rua, and he is a pet now, so to speak, coming and going. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. A quotation from one of America's founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. And essentially, when we plan and when we kind of map out things for ourselves, and the more of that we do, the less likely we are to fail. So a session like this is, and why the HSE is providing, and lots of organizations provide pre-retirement course, is to get people thinking, or even, will I retire, or what's it going to be like, and to have that experience. And we know like that teams go out to play, sports stars, people go out to form, and they do plan and they do plot and they set goals for themselves. And this is where the strength of Linda's presentation is going to be so helpful to us all. And so if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So, and of course, we do know in life, things don't always go according to plan. So in that regard, what you focus on grows, what you think about expands, and what you dwell upon determines your destiny. And if you were to link that particular statement just now into what you're thinking about in terms of pre-retirement thoughts, possible retirement, and how you focus on that, and the opportunities that you might see in your mind's eye about that, and the opportunities that retirement can offer, and that can determine the very best outcome from planning your retirement. So, but equally, like if we think, oh gosh, I don't want to retire, and I don't think I'm able for it, you know, it's going to slow yourself down and possibly create barriers for yourself. And we're going to explore that a little bit further with you. And that was Rua playing with Judy. So linking all of this to our health and our well-being and mental health, and like mental health and our environment, mental health and society and so on are current issues. But the environment in which we live is quite important to our overall health and well-being. And for some, we live in a rural environment. Some people live in isolated conditions, and that can impact on how they're feeling, how they're coping. And when people, you know, we also know that we can be in a busy environment and feel lonely and isolated. And clearly the environment, and especially the work environment at the moment, has changed. But once you retire and hit into that kind of phase of life and living, that environment also, there's a transition involved in that, and to be mindful of that. But our environment has an awful lot to offer us in terms of our well-being, nature, opportunities that exist in our environment to engage. And of course, society. And society is such an important part of life, and societies all over the world, societies in Ireland, and how society informs and influences situations. And I guess one of the biggest influencing factors in relation to society and the way society thinks and behaves can primarily link around media, let it be social, print media, whatever. But it's important that we can all feel part of a society, and we're living in a society that I guess has, you know, we're living in a very modern society now with lots of different cultural opportunities and nationalities. And in the core of it all, we have these kind of core petals. And I know Linda in times gone by would kind of imagine this as a carousel going around a baby's cot. And you know, we know for sure there's a relationship between physical and mental health. And all you have to think about that is, if you broke your arm and you always brushed your teeth with your right hand, now you have to think about washing your teeth with your left hand. Or if, you know, the gentlemen amongst us there that have a beard and you're used to shaving with whichever hand you shave with, and now to think about doing that. And that is the link about getting your mind to respond to the physical situation, or physically getting your mind to adapt. And then spirituality, like spiritual is very important. And it's very important that we practice self-care through spirituality. And part of this is about taking notice of what's going around you, and also kind of I suppose you could look at this, the importance of spiritual wellness, which we will be looking at as well later on, but it is part of our health and well-being. And social wellness, and that social kind of network that we create through work, through employment, can change because of we can inevitably lose contact with the people we work with. But that said, we can maintain contact by special effort, and we sometimes you have to work at that, and remember the people that you liked at work, got on well with work, and try and maintain that connection because it keeps us in contact. But sometimes people go back to their places of work, and after a week or two, they kind of feel, oh, that's not really for me. But go through the process and experience it, and then know when it's important to kind of say, you know, I've moved on from that. And then sexuality is who we are, male, female, gender, and we have a much better insight and understanding of sexuality and same-sex marriages and same-sex relationships. And that's very important for our society, and that people can live in harmony with their sexuality. And emotional. So often the emotions can come in for a bit of a, I suppose, criticism in that emotions can be negative, and so they can, but they're only negative in relation to the responses that people demonstrate. So our emotions might be like sad, angry, depressed. Well, you know, I'm kind of camping them all in there together. But the thing is, if I'm angry or frustrated or annoyed, why is it I'm annoyed? Why is it I'm angry? Have I a right to be sad because of a bereavement, because of a loss, things that haven't gone according to plan, a disappointment? Of course I have. But have I a right to be angry if somebody has let me down badly? Of course I have. But the thing is, what do we do with our emotions? So really our emotions, in a short sentence, are behavioral signs to us that things are just not quite right. And it's how we respond to that is really important, and to be aware of that. And of course, there's the positive emotions of passion and love. And again, like sometimes our love and our passion mightn't be met with the same enthusiasm as somebody else, and we have to be able to manage that equally as well. And mental health impacts on all of those. But when we say mental health, what are we saying? So we're back to definitions. And I'm not sure that you can absolutely define mental health, because I think it's a personal thing, a personal insight. But having an understanding of it around a state of well-being in which you, the individual, realizes your own abilities, you cope with the normal stress of life, can work productively and fruitfully to make a contribution to his or her community. And it's that idea of well-being, and we will explore what well-being is. I like this transition. It might be one that we can link in with as well. Mental health describes how we think and feel about ourselves and our relationship with others, and how we interpret events in everyday life. It also relates to our ability to cope with change, transition, and significant life events, and to understand how to deal with the stresses that often come our way. And I think right in there, you can put the idea of the change, the transition, significant life events. So it is a significant life event to retire. It is about change. It is about transition. And this is where our mental health can support us and help us. It can be our resilient factor by minding it and looking after our well-being. And of course, there's always kind of a handy one. Mental health is a state of health of somebody's mind, Oxford University Press. And so it goes. But there's a little bit of everything in there for all of us. And to kind of know that mental health is about your well-being, and that we can do things to support our mental health, and to recognize the challenges that can undermine it from time to time. So essentially it is relationship with yourself, includes confidence and self-esteem. Clearly that can vary from time to time in life and people around us. And back to that relationship with others, positive social interactions and communications. We need that, COVID or no COVID. It has been challenged with COVID because of restrictions, rightly so. But I think also to be remember, like with social interactions and social connections, and that sometimes we can be asked by people in our circle to do things that mightn't suit us. That can put us under a certain amount of pressure. So part of that social interactions, communications, is being able to kind of know your limitations within those friendships as well. And that works two ways. And then ability to cope with life's demands using healthy coping mechanisms. And our focus in this regard is the 5 ways to well-being: connect, be active, take notice, keep learning, and to give. And to kind of sum up and mental health and well-being, and where does it fit in, and is health a continuum? And Professor Corey Keyes did a lot of research nice few years ago now. I'd encourage you to Google him. You'll get him on YouTube, you'll get him on TED Talks, just Google him. He does an amazing amount of work around this positive understanding of mental health and well-being. And he surveyed 1,000 people on a psychological scale. And he came up with 16% of that 1,000 people were flourishing, 53% had moderate to good mental health, 20% had a diagnosis of a mental illness, such as is life. And then the last 9%, making up the 100%, was languishing. And what does that look like? And I just want to say too at the outset, like, because a person has a diagnosis of a mental illness, let it be depression or otherwise, does not mean that person does not have mental health, does not imply that that person does not need to look after their mental health, because in dealing with the mental illness, they may also need to look after their mental health. So what's it like to be flourishing? Just a few words. You can put lots to them. Feeling good about life, optimistic about life, able to make change, keeping stress at a low level. And on the other end of the scale, what does a languishing look like? So somebody kind of literally feeling hollow, maybe empty, kind of life feels a little bit meaningless. And maybe as we say here in Ireland, stuck in a rut, maybe unhappy, feeling you cannot make change, and that could be a challenge facing up to retirement and making that transition. Feeling isolated, perhaps prone to stress. And with either end of this scale, you can put lots more words to describe. But the important thing to remember, guys, is that if a person is feeling languishing, if they're struggling with change and coping, that can be improved, that can be dealt with, and the person can find themselves flourishing. And more often than not, as well, people that are flourishing, they'll hit moments of languishing, low mood, and just not having great energy. And I think we can all identify with that concept of flourishing and languishing, and it's part of life, and it's about that state of well-being, and to be mindful of that, and not to kind of, what will I say, kind of down your, well, not be negative about it, and just say, what do I need to do to get myself from languishing to flourishing again? And we can often be living with people that are in those phases as well. So to bear that in mind. So Linda is going to talk us through retirement and share her thoughts on that. So Linda, we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thanks, Finola. Yeah, well, as I said earlier, I retired in December 2019, so a little over a year ago, and very excited with the prospects of retiring after almost 45 years of work, as I said earlier. I also had a very busy life because I worked full time. And I had 3 children who are now all adults, and I now have 8 grandchildren. So I'm very blessed. Well, I'm blessed with grandchildren anyway. So I'm very blessed, and I've lots of things to do. So I had planned for my retirement. I thought about it long and hard, and had planned and put a lot of thought into it and what I was going to do. Part of the plan was that I was going to go walking with my girlfriends, and 3 of us walk. It used to be once a week when I was working, but now I decided that when I was retired, I was going to do this 4 or 5 times a week. They were doing have the coffee, have the chat, put the world to rights, and I would have time for myself that I never had before. And so if we rewind then to January 2020, the Christmas decorations came down, and sure, I was delighted. Normally you'll be heading back to work and all that goes with that, getting ready, the stress of it, making plans, doing your yearly plan, and wondering what was ahead. So I didn't have that. So it was a sense of freedom. And what was I going to do with this newfound freedom? So I was going to plan some breaks away and holidays, and spend quality time with my grandchildren, and have them for more sleepovers, and do maybe a bit of baking with them and all that. So I was really looking forward to all that. And it started off very, very well, as you know. And then when January and into February, and I was going along quite well. So about mid-February, I kept saying, well, there's only so much walks you can do and only so much talking you can do. And it's always used to being very focused and very driven and being busy. So I was kind of beginning to wonder about what was all this retirement lark about, and beginning to feel it, when it really dawns and you're not going back to work. This isn't a holiday. And so I was feeling a little bit iffy. And so I just sort of, oh, this will pass. So then we're into March, and then no need to tell you, COVID-19 landed on our doorsteps. And suddenly here I was, gone from being very, very busy 12 or 14 weeks earlier to being at home all the time, wasn't going to go back to work. And it was my perfect storm, because I think I was starting to lose my sense of identity just prior to that. So here I was now, kind of somebody had to pull the rug out of me, out from under me. All my plans that I had made were gone awry, and what was I going to do? So the first day I said, no, we'll get on with this. But then over the next week or two, I started probably languishing, as Finola was referring to there by Corey Keys, that, I was lying in the bed a bit later, and sure, I get up and kind of do a little bit around, and then say hoovering. Should I do it tomorrow? There's always tomorrow. So kind of not having any focus, any really sort of drifting a bit. So that went on for a week or so. And then it suddenly dawned on me, look, Linda, you've spent 40 years plus advising, helping, encouraging, trying to motivate people to take control of their lives and to have some kind of focus. So I just scaled it all back at that stage and said, look, we're back to basics. So I decided that routine was going to be key, and it was key for me, that, I was going to get up between 8 and half 8 every morning, have my breakfast, have a plan for each day, have something to do, whether that be cleaning out a drawer or maybe doing a little bit of painting or making connection with somebody, but I was going to have a plan. I was going to make sure I had my good meals, 3 meals a day, maybe a few snacks, cut down on alcohol, not drink at home, and that I was going to build in a bit of exercise every day, which I did. And then to have a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of reflective time for myself, and started off at 10 minutes a day and then built that up. And I found that to be very, very beneficial. So so now we were well into the lockdown, and was coping reasonably well, and could see my grandchildren drive by and waving through the windows at me. And I'm very fortunate to live in the country. And when I was going for walks, I was out in nature and looking at the flowers in the ditches and the rubbish as well, unfortunately, and the trees and all of that. So I was able to do that, and my mood came back up, and I was in a good place. So then what I did was I actually took back control. But I think a lot of people, when they retire, some people are not quite ready for full retirement. They might like to do semi-retire and maybe just cut back on their working for a while, or you might like to mentor people. I know that since I've retired, I've been contacted by a few people who are doing projects or doing things around mental health or doing things in their community, and I was only too glad to help out. So you might mentor somebody, might like to do that. So, but when we're looking at retirement, and I thought I had it well planned, but actually a few things came to me after the event, was that while you're planning, you want to add in the emotional piece as well, because for the previous number of years, whatever that would be, let it be 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you had a routine and you had a habit of going to work. You were gone out of the house probably for 8 or 12 hours a day. And then suddenly you were going to be at home for most of that time. And because of the pandemic, we were thrown together a lot of the time. So that would put strain on relationships. You have to renegotiate that. It puts when you retire, it puts strains on your finances as well, because you're used to a certain amount of income, and now you're going to be left to work on only half that or whatever it was. And are you ready for that? Was that going to be possible? And so it's a matter of that we're all qualified, we're all QBEs, we're all qualified by experience and about the change. And what it stands to you is how you dealt with change in your life up to that point. How you dealt with when things changed within the HSE, when things changed in your life. What did you rely on? What is your bit of resilience? And to build on that and look at the positive. And I think it's about framing retirement or framing the plans in a positive light, not saying I have to do, but rather I have the opportunity of doing. That to do that, and to, give gratitude, and to build in that bit of self-care for yourself. And it's about that more you say yes to other people's demands, the more you're saying no to yourself. And I have to say that retirement has been quite a journey for me, and I'm quite sure it will be. It's been a positive one in the main. It's been a positive one, but it's about taking control and know what you want for yourself. So I'm going to hand back now to Finola.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. And I was just in this flow of your conversation there and your journey, and it's just so important. And you know, like that last point that Linda said, that sometimes you have to take control. Like in life, sometimes it can be difficult to take control of certain things, like what we now know, like statistics and listening to the news, and but we can actually take control of that by minimizing it. We like, clearly, because of regulations, that at some point we do have to retire. So it's about, what do I need to do in that? And we have some worksheets on our website about taking control and what it is you can't control. Clearly there are things, but there are things you can control. And one of the things is our thoughts, and every day may not be good, but there is some good in every day. So Linda, if I was to ask you, what would you say was good in your day today?
I think any day that you're able to get out of the bed, put your 2 feet on the ground and say, today is going to be a good day, and work to the positive, is a good day. And I think it's a good day because, well, here down in Wexford, the weather is absolutely fabulous today. So, you know, and gives a bit of a lift to the mood.
And for me today, because it's such a nice warm day, I think it's lovely, and is just looking forward to getting out into a little bit more of the fresh air. So guys, think about that. Like, every day may not be good, but there is something good, or some good in every day. So, and you know, we mentioned earlier on about mental health and well-being. And well-being is present when a person realizes their potential, is resilient in dealing with the enormous stresses of their life, takes care of their physical well-being, and has a sense of purpose, connection, and belonging to a wider community. It's a fluid way of being and needs nurturing throughout life. And you know, for me, kind of that well-being is kind of our sandbank of wellness and resilience and hope and everything. And, you know, say again, and I know Linda will be chatting more to us shortly, but that sense of purpose, connection, and belonging to a wider community, that changes with retirement, obviously, from the work setting. But what about the new connections you make? And the new connections Linda has talked about since her retirement. And you know, to kind of, and that enhances our well-being. So some years ago, the New Economic Foundation were tasked by the government of the day in the UK. They were consciously aware that there's a good message out there about eating 5 greens a day. That's good for your physical health. What are the 5 things that can support your well-being? And after a significant amount of research, I gathered they read and researched something like 80 papers. They came up with these 5 very handy evidence-based pointers, steps, mechanisms, strategies, call them what you like. Connect, be active, take notice, keep learning, and to give. So we're going to watch a little video that explains these, and then we'll have the chat.
Did you know there are things we can do every day to improve our mental health and well-being? Connecting is about building and strengthening relationships with the people around you. We can do this by spending meaningful time with people each day, arranging a day out with friends, having lunch with someone you work with, or joining a sports team in your local community. By giving time to these relationships, we feel happier and more secure, giving us a better sense of purpose. Be active. Look for ways to be active every day. Find something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be a marathon, but something that suits your fitness and mobility. Cycling, gardening, walking, and dancing are all ways that we can get more active. Being active every day causes changes in our brain, which can positively affect our mood. Take notice. To take notice is to be present in the here and now. Pay attention to the world around you, nature, people, your thoughts and feelings. Becoming more aware of the present moment can help us enjoy the world around us and understand ourselves better. Keep learning. Keep learning is about learning new skills and information about topics that interest us. We can keep learning by trying a new recipe, signing up for a nighttime course, fixing that broken bike, or taking on a new responsibility in work. Learning can boost our confidence and self-esteem, help build a sense of purpose, and help us connect with others. Give. Giving is about small acts of kindness for other people. You could make someone a cup of tea, sign up for volunteering, or offer to help someone you know with a project. You could just ask a friend or someone you work with how they are, and really listen to the answer. Giving back to others can create positive feelings and help us feel more satisfied with life. Each of the 5 ways have been shown to make a positive difference in how we feel and live our life. By including these simple actions every day, we can improve our mental health and well-being.
So, okay, that was it was developed in the UK. It's a universal evidence-based message used by quite a lot of organisations. It's very embedded in the NHS. Mental Health Ireland has led out with it, and myself and Linda in the past have delivered and developed workshops around it as well. So, and Linda was given an honorary title there, QBE, qualified by experience. So we're going to test you on that now, Linda. And I nearly put an MB on that and call you master or mistress by experience. Give me the proper title, Linda. So what we'd like to do is have a chat, Linda, with you on the 5 ways, and starting with connect. What's your core message to us here today on about connecting and the importance of it?
Well, I think it's one of the fundamental things in life, because as human beings, we all like the herd instinct. You know, we all like the mishmash of being connected to people, to our families, to our friends, to our neighbours, to our colleagues. You know, that's why if you look at the GAA, they're so successful, because it's about the local. It's about making the local connections. It's about being part of the team. It's all of that. It's about that connected piece. And I think human beings need that. If it's only a matter of saying hello to somebody at the bus stop when you're going for your bus in the morning, or, you know, saying hello to the neighbour over the wall. And I know now that we have to be connected, but by staying apart. So I suppose it's a little bit more difficult, but we all have phones. We all have, a lot of people have, the majority of people now have phones where you can see another person. You can make a Zoom call, or not a Zoom call. You can make a WhatsApp, over the WhatsApp call, or, you know, the internet. So that's all those kind of ways. You can write a letter. I'm after sending a few cards off to people, and when they get them, they ring back and they're delighted to actually have the written word again. I think people are getting back to writing letters as well. And it's about that connecting piece. It's not about, oh, such a one didn't ring me, so I won't ring them. It's about putting yourself out there and saying, I'm going to ring Finola, I'm going to ring Mary Blogs or Joe Blogs or whoever. So it's about that, knowing that connecting is so important, and to connect for yourself as well. But you want to connect with people that make you feel good. There's no point in connecting, you know, and connecting into areas or into people that drag you down as well. So you want to be careful about your contacts as well.
Lovely. Yeah. And I think as well, it's just a thought coming to mind, listening to you there, Linda, that perhaps organisations may need to set up some kind of virtual connect cafes to keep people that are retired communicating with each other until such time as they can meet in, you know, the normal. Because, and I know, like Linda, and you've done a lot with other groups outside of your retirement, which has seen you into retirement in terms of professional organisations and that, and it's to kind of create those links now as well, isn't it, that you have a focus.
You know, it's easy to let things slide, yeah. And then if you haven't rang somebody for a month or two, you say, oh, maybe they wouldn't be bothered, but, you know, make the connection. And if they are bothered, they are, and if they're not, but at least you've made the connection, you know.
Yeah, and make the effort. And Linda, be active. I know I wouldn't like to be trying to keep up with you walking in the southeast at the moment, because I know you're super fit, but what is it about being active that's important to our well-being in general?
Well, as I said earlier, being active and doing something physical does increase your endorphins, so it gives you the feel-good factor. But as well as that, you know, usually when people are active, I know that I do quite a bit of walking. I walk every day. And during the lockdowns, I've been walking on my own. So that's not quite as enjoyable, but I do it. And I had a focus that, you know, I would try to do the distance I was doing, my 2K, 2.5K out, my 2.5K back in a quicker time. And then I was watching Operation Transformation, and they had age groups, and within 12 time trials, within 12 minutes, you were supposed to do a certain amount of a distance. So I was trying to do that as well. So it's about challenging myself and being active and feeling good about yourself and celebrating. It's all about, we need to celebrate our achievements. So when I was able to do the distance in the 12 minutes, it was, yeah, you know, you celebrate, bed it down by the celebration. That's why, to make it feel good, so you'll do it again. It's that kind of thing. I also, on wet days, I have skipping rope, so I'd skip in the kitchen, and I have not a handball, but I have a softball, and I played handball against the kitchen wall. I wouldn't dream of letting my children or my grandchildren do it, but I was at it. So it's just that activity. Or standing up and down between the ads on the telly if you're watching the telly, or walking around the house if you think that's as far as you can go. And it's a case of, you don't have to do the half hour, you don't have to do the hour, but if you can do 5 minutes and then sit down and do another 5 minutes, if that's what you're capable of it, or if you're able to run a marathon, do whatever suits you, but get involved in something. Now, everything is sort of a solo run now, because we're not allowed into the team sports yet. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to getting back to walking with my friends and chatting and all of that.
And of course, you can connect through being active as well. And also, I suppose, too, like, people can be active, like, because maybe not everybody kind of keen for the walk, but it could be a cycle, it could be a jog, it could be swimming. Like, there's so many ways we can be active, but the important thing is to build in a certain amount of exercise, even if it's like, I hear, like 5 minutes of a walk one way and 5 minutes back again. It's got huge benefits as well. So, and like, I know, again, from working with you in the past, Linda, you've been very good and very instrumental in supporting us understanding mindfulness as an organization. What's again your take on, pardon the pun there, take notice? What is it that we need to take notice of?
Well, we need to take notice of everything, but we actually just need to slow ourselves down. You know, it's okay just to be, you know, I think an adage that I would sort of think of when I think of retirement now is that so when you meet somebody for the first time, I'd say, oh, I'm Linda, and what do you do? And you know, so it's a thing about, it's okay to be a human being, so it's just okay to be. And I think that has taken on a whole new meaning for me, to take time out to just sit quietly, to just think, to close your eyes, to disconnect yourself from all types of technology, phones, laptops, anything else that gives off that blue screen, and to sit quietly and just think of, you know, visualize yourself somewhere else, but, you know, or visualize yourself when you're happy at something. And it's about taking the time when you're walking, and of course, and and then to breathe, and breathing, to bring everything back to the breath, and to slow everything down. And I'm just going to do a little experiment with you now, Finola. So
oh gosh, you give me no time to prepare, Linda. I hope it's nothing too serious now. You're not going to test my fitness. I had to run out there because I'm outside, and I heard a machine going, and I had to dash down and say, can you turn that off for 5-10 minutes? I've my exercise done for today. Yeah, right. Go ahead, Linda.
Now I'm going to get you to breathe properly, because most of it's shallow breathing. Breathe. Right. So I use the 4-6-8. So it's to breathe in for 4, hold for 6, and breathe out for 8. So we're going to try this on you, Finola. So what I want you to do is to breathe in very deeply to the pit of your stomach, through your nose, and to hold it. So breathe in. So through your nose, right up to the pit of your stomach for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now exhale through your mouth. Blow it all out through your mouth for the count of 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that's a little bit exaggerated, because I was a little bit behind because I've given you the example.
Well, you're well ahead, Linda, on that.
But if you do that a few times a day, to just sit and quiet and breathe, it will actually calm everything down, calm down your autonomic nervous system, and it will make you more prepared for anything that life throws at you. Because sometimes we can get overwhelmed, and I think in this day and age with the pandemic, and if you're thinking of retiring, or if you've just retired, it's that overwhelming feeling of, what am I going to do? And your heart starts to race. So this is to bring you back in the present, and to look at the flowers. There's lots of flowers blooming now. Look at the little lambs in the fields. Think of how blessed we are that we can do that. You know, and to be grateful for the positives.
Yeah, it's nearly like less is more in a way, isn't it, Linda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Say, like, one of my favorite kind of, like, I'm not great on the breathing, as you could see, but like, is putting my 3 fingers together. It kind of grounds me, reminds me, calm down, slow down, and or take that you know what, I'm stopping for 30 seconds, or sit down and have the cup of coffee properly, or the cup of tea, as the case may be, or the glass of water. So like, this is kind of one of my favorite ones, Keep Learning, because I'm an advocate for organizations like Adults, the Voice of Learning, AINTUS. We live in counties that have ETB boards, wonderful programs. We're probably less likely to want to do them now for the summer time, but they've lots of online programs, but we can find other ones as well. And the other one that's our savior are our local libraries, and you can join your local library for free. And it's amazing, the stuff. If you haven't considered it, guys, like you can download audiobooks, you can magazines, newspapers, VIP. And I mean, this is one of the benefits of technology, say, when it's useful. So Linda, from your perspective on Keep Learning, and what's your take on it, and what's worked well for you since you retired?
Well, I thought to myself, well, you know, what will I do? So I joined a yoga class, and then of course it had to be stalled because of the pandemic. But it went online, so I was learning some yoga online. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it, so it's quite good. So that was a piece of learning for me. I also think that learning doesn't always have to be formal learning. That it could be like your video was saying, it could be learning a new recipe, sharing something with a friend, you know, somebody that's good at doing something, maybe like crochet or knitting or playing darts or playing golf or whatever, that they'll take you under their wing and that they'll teach you. But I think it's about keeping that connection with learning. And sometimes we like to do the formal piece, but I actually think that we can learn from each other, and we have a lot to share. And I think when you get to retirement age, I think we have a lot to share with other people. Anybody who's been in a job and has a career for that, then we have a lot to give, that we can, you know, help other people to keep learning by sharing our own learning and what's coming on in new. And I mean, you might think, oh, well, I don't want to ever think about what I was doing before, and that's all right too. But sometimes you might like to go back to it as well. So it's about that learning piece, and it's about the sharing. And you know, my grandson actually downloaded a little game. It's a word game, and you get 6 or 7 random letters, and you have to put them into a grid, much like a crossword, and it won't let you move on to the next bit until you've all these done. And while initially I was floundering with it all together, but I'm kind of gone, because I'm used to it now. But sometimes I get very stuck on it as well. But it's just something to keep the brain active, and it's a matter of tuning in and doing something for yourself.
Yeah. So it's kind of strategic games that keep the mind active as well, and we can learn from them. And it's kind of another way of getting away from things as well. So and again, there's lots of them available to freely download, and or, you know, library books, and give, like, it's so important. And like, and it's one of the key messages there. In terms of giving, like, a bit of fragrance always clings to the hand, it gives you roses. So why would you think giving is important in relation to your well-being, and let's, you know, because we're focusing on mental health and what supports our mental health and our resilience?
I think we always get a lot more from giving than we ever do from receiving, because see the joy on someone else's face when you do something for them, or, you know, like that, making the cup of tea, or maybe buying paper or bringing the paper to someone next door who can't get out to get it for themselves, or giving of your time. I think that's crucially important. You know, I'm always saying to the parents of young children for Christmas that you know, it's not about the amount of toys that children get. It's about the amount of time you spend with the children playing with the toys. It's about giving that to other people. But I also think in this about giving, when you're thinking about retirement and you're thinking about all that we've done for others, is about to give to yourself as well. And I think this is hugely important. And I think this is about self-care bit, that to mind and protect our own mental health, particularly in that time of transition. And, you know, it's a huge change. And as I said, you want to, you know, we can build on what we did in the past when we had change. But it's about giving yourself that time and to look after yourself, take your exercise, you know, eating, sleeping, exercise, all of the fundamental things for life, that we do them, and we do them well for ourselves as we age, particularly in retirement. And that the self-care piece is that we put boundaries around, and that we're able to say no to people, that by saying yes to everybody all the time, that we can be saying no to ourselves, and it can have a detrimental effect on our lives, that we're being taken advantage of, or that we're being overwhelmed. So it's about you know, sitting mindfully and thinking about what you want, And I think it's about framing it in that, you know, when you look at retirement and you think of retirement, think about it, see it, visualize it, feel it, almost smell it. This is what you want. And then when it happens, is this actually what you're getting? So you want to have the plan and you want to have the dream. Because if you don't have a dream, you can't make it true. So it's about planning. It's about visualizing. It's about doing it for yourself. And that isn't being selfish. And it's about knowing what you want to get out of life and of this part of your life, because it is very exciting. And hopefully we'll be in retirement for quite a while. So it's a matter of what you want to do and how you want to do it. And it's about giving that time, giving yourself permission to do that. And I'll tell you too as well, one other thing, to give yourself permission to be a little bit sad for what you've after leaving behind. Because when you're walking away from, in my case, almost 45 years of a working life, there is that little bit of, oh my God, what now? You know, I've been used to that for so many years. So it's, and of course there's a little bit of sadness associated with it. It's a letting go, it's a bit of a loss, but it's to know that that it's a transition. It's not always going to be like that.
Okay. So it's kind of, so in other words, Linda, is to kind of give yourself that space and that time. Yes. And to be able to deal with that. And the other thing I picked up from giving as well is that when you give, your serotonin and all those happy hormones come to mind literally in the same way as if you go for a jog, and you pass that on to somebody else and becomes, well, dare I say it, like it can become a positive viral impact, say. So I think what you're saying to us then, Linda, is,
well, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is now, you know, and you've never been retired before, probably, or the majority of us won't be. So it's to plant that tree, that little sapling, and make it grow into a mighty oak for your retirement. And it's about that. And it's about having the gratitude. And I think every night, like every morning I get out of the bed and I do put my feet on the floor and say, well, today is going to be a great day. Now, I'm realistic enough to know that every day is not going to be a great day. It's called life. But to give gratitude is like, to give gratitude at night when I get into the bed for what has been for the day. That, you know, the sun is shining today, or maybe even for the rain. And that, you know, that we're blessed, that we're well, or we're whatever. So it's about knowing what's important for us and to give gratitude for that, to be grateful.
Well, and I think that point you've just made, Linda, is so vitally important. It's about putting your feet on the ground and keeping your feet on the ground and not getting carried away, and giving yourself the time and the space and the self-care. So, and in that regard, I you know, sometimes we can create barriers for ourselves in relation to how we think. And in that picture there, it's a seat that Tullamore Mental Health Association placed in the Bridge Street Shopping Centre. And the message engraved on that seat is, every day may not be good, but there's some good in every day. And that's what we kind of nearly always need to be kind of mindful of, that, and not, you know, to, like, there's a barrier there because the centre does not want people to sit there, and that's fine, but we can walk around it and we can still enjoy it. And to kind of, okay, so there will be barriers, as Linda has acknowledged, but, you know, there's a solution to every problem, and it's about, you know, quality of life, basically, at the end of the day. So, Linda, like, well, I wish everybody good luck, and I think you've deserved the title MBE, Mistress, Master of by Experience. And Linda, I'm really appreciative of you giving of your time to us in this workshop. It wouldn't have been the same without you. And I'm so glad we maintained our own connections with you moving on and going the high road, as we say. And I know personally you've thrived in it as well. So guys, I want to wish you all very well in your retirement. Encourage you to go to our website, be aware of what your own organisation, HSE, has to offer you. Lots of programs, stress control, wellbeing programs. Like, there's an inordinate amount of choice out there, and to avail of that, and to all the time, kind of what Linda just said in the opening quotation, what you focus on grows, and then it can expand. So Linda, I'm leaving you with the last word.
Well, I just want to say, you know, look forward to your retirement, plan wisely. There might be some disappointments along the way, but you have lots of resilience behind you. And I know that your retirement will be as successful as you want it to be. Engage with it well, engage with it wisely, and enjoy, and good health, and to everybody.
Lovely. Linda, thank you so much. Really appreciate your support and involvement in this, and for being so game on it as well. So thank you, everyone. And as Linda says, have a good retirement. Thank you.